In a life that spanned first 2/3 of the 20th century, Winston Churchill was not only a remarkable politician, but also an enthusiastic historian, writer, and rhetorician. As Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Churchill led his people through the dark days of the Second World War. Churchill understood the power of words, the power of rhetoric, quite early in his political career. It was during his visit to the United States as a young man when Churchill met his rhetorical mentor by the name of William Burke Cochrane, an Irish-American politician who was famous for his impressive public speaking. Churchill describes Cochrane as a great orator who had taught him how to use every note of the human voice like an organ. Cochrane's hero was Edmund Burke, whom he praised as simple, direct, eloquent, yet there is a splendor in his phrases that even in cold type reveals how forcefully he must have enthralled his visitors. Cochrane recognized Churchill's capacity when he wrote, "With your remarkable talent for lucid and attractive expression, I firmly believe you would take a commanding position in public life. I was so profoundly impressed with the vigor of your language and the breadth of your views." So much impressed, Churchill, on his return to England in 1897, wrote an unpublished essay titled "The Scaffolding of Rhetoric," in which he summarizes the important elements that makes a good speech. He starts by mentioning the correctness of diction. Knowledge of language is measured by the nice and exact appreciation of words. There is no more important element in the technique of rhetoric than the continual employment of the best possible word. Rhythm is considered as the next important element. The great influence of sound on the human brain is well known. The sentences of the orator, when he appeals to his art, become long, rolling and sonorous. The peculiar balance of the phrases produces a cadence which resembles blank verse rather than prose. Repetition or anaphora was another favorite rhetorical device Churchill used. In most of his speeches, to make a very strong impression on his audience. Churchill then points out the importance of the accumulation of argument. The last section in the scaffolding of rhetoric is what Churchill explains as a tendency to wild extravagance. We have before us an ordeal of the most grievous kind. We have before us many, many long months of struggle and of suffering. You ask, what is our policy? I can say, it is to wage war by sea, land and air, with all our might and with all the strength that God can give us. To wage war against a monstrous tyranny, never surpassed in the dark, lamentable catalogue of human crime. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? I can answer in one word. It is victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory, there is no survival. Churchill was especially outstanding in Aristotle's three modes of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos shows the character, credibility of the speaker. Pathos shows how much emotion is conveyed to the audience by the emotions of the speaker. And logos, explaining by words, in this case, speech to achieve persuasion. Having no speechwriter, Churchill wrote all the speeches himself. His method of composition shows wonderful manifestation of Cicero's 5 canons of rhetoric. Churchill would dictate his speeches to his secretaries as he would pace up and down, thinking and speaking. He was clearly practicing the first of Cicero's 5 canons of rhetoric: invention. He would then arrange his speech so that it would have the structure he desires when making the delivery. Churchill then took time to polish his speech, to style, fashion, and ornate it for the audience to fully appreciate what is being communicated. When these 3 canons have been complete, the 4th and 5th canon of Memoria and Actio would naturally occur whilst practicing and rehearsing several times. Churchill would make notes on where to pause or where to emphasize, or even use hand gestures for a more dramatic effect. Having composed it, arranged it, styled it, and memorized it, Churchill's delivery was undoubtedly persuasive. Churchill was widely recognized in areas of politics, history, literature, and rhetoric during his lifetime, culminating in the award of the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953 and the state funeral at the time of his death in 1965.